All right, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Angela Austin. Just so you're aware, this Ask Me Anything session is going to be recorded and it will be posted on the NSIN website so that you can look at it for reference later. Again, my name is Angela Austin. I'm a STARTS program manager at National Security Innovation Network. The STARTS program helps military leaders solve problems through early stage ventures. And today we're going to talk about a problem with the Navy and their partners, where we're looking for some early stage technology to help solve some tank inspection problems. I'm going to go over an event overview and some of the requirements. Can you switch the slide for me, please, Allie?
I'm trying to stand by.
Okay.
We're having some technical difficulty here today. There you go. Again?
Yes, please.
Okay. There you go.
Thank you. So the deadline to submit currently is August 1st, 11:59 p.m. Eastern time. There is a possibility that this timeline may get extended a little bit, so just make sure you're checking the webpage I would say at least every week. As far as the presentations, we do have some guidelines that are posted on the application, but you can also see here the 16:9 ratio, horizontal PDF file. And again, that link is in the application where you're going to submit. Once we make it through the selection process or the down selection process, if you do make it and you get selected to come to the pitch event, there will be 2 rehearsal time slots available. August 10th, we'll have one at 11 and one at 2, and those are both Eastern time. And then for pitch days, currently we have that scheduled for the week of August 15th. We're gonna have one day for problem 1 and one day for problem 2. So if you've applied for both and you make it through as a finalist for both, just plan on 2 days. And during that event, you will have a 5-minute presentation followed by 5 minutes of questions from the judging panel. And as far as judging goes, they're going to get into more detail, the subject matter experts today, on a lot of the different aspects of this technology that they're looking for. But generally, the criteria falls under 4 different categories. So we have technical, team, commercialization, and quality of pitch. And most importantly, one of the requirements here for receiving an award is to be registered in SAM.gov. And so upon completion of that registration, you're going to have a unique entity ID that is required in order to receive an award for this program. So please, if you haven't started the process, go ahead and begin it. And also I've put a link in the chat box for the SAM.gov website where you can actually begin on the registration page. And then above that also is the application website, which you probably know where it is since you're here, but just in case, it's in the chat box. And from here, I'm going to turn it over to Mark.
Hi, good morning, everybody, and thank you very much for coming. We know this is an optional event for you to get a little bit more information on our prize challenge and what we're looking for, so we very much appreciate everybody's participation today. Just as a little bit of a quick introduction, we have the administrative team that is putting this event on for everybody. And then we also have 2 different teams of our experts for both of our problem sets that we will introduce also. So we have from the National Security Innovation Network. They are actually hosting the event for us. So again, thank you to them as well. We have an industry partner who will be your main points of contact. That would be the Wendt brothers. And they will be reaching out to everybody. They will serve, or they will manage the kind of FAQ page. And we'll get into that a little bit later also. But the purpose of that page essentially is to make sure everybody has access to the same information on their problem set, to make sure the competition is fair and equal for everybody. Mr. Danny Hubert is leading one of the warfare centers. So we have some folks that are interested in particularly submarines. That would be Danny Hubert. And Alan Yeager and Greg DeVogel, their focus is surface ships. And then myself, Mark Thompson, I am with Naval Facilities, so we're focused on some land-based tanks, and we'll get into the specifics of those as we go on. Next slide, please. Okay, so we're here for the Ask Me Anything event, and if you're wondering why you're here, the intent for us, for you, the participants and industry members, to take this opportunity to self-evaluate your technology and its alignment and aptitude for the prize challenge. So this is meant to be an information gathering session for you industry participants, just to make sure you have a good understanding of what it is that we're looking for, and to see if your technology, your solution, your idea might fit that requirement. So some do's and don'ts for today, just so we're all on the same page. Again, seek a better understanding of what it means to inspect a tank and what our experts are looking for, which you'll have the opportunity to ask them in a bit. An understanding of the size and scope of the problem as a whole. So for our demo days, we will be putting you through some actual tank inspections in person. However, every tank is different. We obviously can't run you through every variation of a tank in every location. So to get a good idea of some other potential targets that we would be looking for down the road. To seek technical and non-technical information regarding the participation in the prize challenge. Angela just hit on some of that earlier, some requirements you have as a business. And then also introduction to the targets that you'll actually be inspected, that will be inspected for this challenge. Some don'ts for today. We can't get into sales, marketing, or contracting discussions. This is meant to set up, ideally, some long-term relationships with the Navy. If one of those technologies is adequate for the unique Navy need. But for today, we can't get into those conversations. It's meant to be kind of open information for everybody. So those conversations we can have a little bit later down the road after the event concludes. And also, in the sake of fairness and everybody having the same information on their problem set, we want to avoid inviting others to have follow-on conversations or sidebars, especially with the experts and technical points of contact, just to make sure that we're all on a level playing field. So if anybody has any questions, and it's the same reason we're recording this session, we will maintain that FAQ page. So if we get any sidebar conversations happening, we can record those and make sure that info is available. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, and a quick introduction of the subject matter experts for problem 1 and problem 2. So problem 1 is going to be focused on land-based tanks. Naval facilities personnel are very interested in inspecting both water and fuel tanks. Of course, there are variations and nuances between the inspection of those different types of facilities. So we have folks representing both of those interests of water and fuel. So we have Jeremiah Monzon, Rafael Mendoza, Frank Kern, and Martin Gaffey representing problem 1. Problem 2 is combining the surface ship and subsurface or submarines, combining their interests into problem 2. So we have Mr. Greg DeVogel, Patrick Nearing, Tony Lack, Matthew Beebe, and Edward Lemieux. So you'll have an opportunity to talk to these folks in just a few minutes. Well, I just want to give you a brief introduction. So if you needed to call out any particular expert here to ask some follow-on details, I just wanted you to have that information. Next slide, please. Okay, and a quick overview of the schedule. This is our first main event of the prize challenge as a whole. So the solicitation has been released June 20th. Today we have the Ask Me Anything session. After this, it gives you a little bit more time to evaluate the status of your technology, or if you need to register in sam.gov, whatever the case may be. Gives you time to evaluate and get your application in. So that solicitation will close August 1st, as Angela mentioned. From there, we may need to do an initial down select to fit the number of slots we have for our pitches. So within a week, we'll be able to notify everybody, let you know who will be invited to pitch. We'll have rehearsals for the pitch the week of August 8th, and the actual pitches will occur the week of August 15th. Those days will be different, and invites will go out depending on if you are applying for problem set 1 or 2. And then finally, the grand finale, the week of September 26th, is the demo days. We have 2 days for problem 1 and 2 days for problem 2. There'll be a good day or a good couple days in sunny San Diego, inspecting an above ground water tank down there, and also some spaces within a decommissioned carrier. So that'll be a great week, and that'll be the grand finale. And from there, prizes will be awarded. Next slide, please. Okay, so a quick introduction, and then I'll turn it over to the experts from Naval Facilities. This is, as of now, this is the target to be inspected by your solution to address problem set 1. The idea of this, again, for both the problem 1 and 2, there are a lot of different nuances. Every space is a little bit different. But our goal is to identify a target for you all to inspect that checks as many boxes as possible. So this is an above ground 1 million gallon water tank in the San Diego area. And from here, this slide and the next, I'd like to just give a couple minutes to the experts from both the problem sets to talk about some of the nuances, talk about what it is that they are looking for that would give them the warm and fuzzy that a solution is a viable option for the Navy to adopt. So at this point, I'll turn it over to the subject matter experts. Thank you. Sorry, just checking. Mr. Gaffey, are you on? Mr. Monzon?
I am. I was going to see if Jeremiah wanted to lead off, or if not, I can.
I'm here. I'm sorry. I was on double mute. I apologize. I was talking for a couple seconds and that wasn't coming through. Yes. Good morning. My name's Jeremiah Monzon. I am the RDT&E program manager for the NAVFAC EXWC POL program, which is Petroleum Oils and Lubricants. We are EXWC specifically is the construction agent, primary construction agent for all the SRM or sustainment restoration and modernization contracts for internal and external integrity management of the Navy's bulk fuel storage systems. We work with NAVSUP, who's the requirements generators, or who identifies what tanks and when contracts need to be done to repair. And we're also funded by DLA, who is our funding sponsor and provides us all the funding for that. We generally are doing for the tank side, I'm sorry, excuse me, let me take a little bit of step back. So in the POL program, we're primarily focused on tank inspections, the bulk fuel storage tanks, as well as pipelines. The Navy's fuel assets are located globally, all CONUS within the United States, continental United States, as well as OCONUS, like places like Japan, Guam, Spain, etc. that are out there. And I'll turn it over to Frank Kern in a bit to talk about the integrity management system, but let me give you a little bit more background. The current program that we're running right now for tank inspection for the timelines that we're dealing with for repairs is anywhere from like 140 to 560 calendar days. So we're always looking to industry to find better ways of doing what we're doing today in the traditional sense. So robotic inspection is definitely something that we've been paying attention to and monitoring as it's been progressing in industry. So that's what we're looking for. And some of the our primary focus is to assure the Navy strategic fuel availability that's out there, strategic fuel availability, and our escalating or our primary efforts are one, increasing the asset integrity, two, increasing the operational capability, three, increasing the inspection velocity, and then four is decreasing the program costs. I think that's a good overview for you. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Frank Kern, who's our subject matter expert in the POL team on XWIC, and he can talk about some of the requirements from an integrity management standpoint. Frank.
Hello, everybody. This is Frank Kern. As Jeremiah said, I'm with the POL's Facilities Engineering Program here at XWIC, and what we essentially do is manage the storage tank and pipeline integrity program. What that involves, obviously, is a lot of inspections and repairs, but inspections is kind of the primary focus today. An inspection, from our perspective, is certainly more than just collecting NDE data. I know this price challenge is kind of aimed at the NDE data side of it, but an inspection is more than that. So we generally follow the principles of API 653 standard, and which involves the judgment of a certified inspector. So obviously an inspector has to look at the data, inspector has to make a judgment about corrosion rates, remaining service life, service intervals, those sorts of things. With the price challenge, what we're interested in is finding technologies that can inform the inspector in ways that we currently can't do. So right now, obviously, most of the inspections that we do would be out of service. We'd remove the fuel from the storage tank, go in, examine the bottom, do all the things that we do, make judgments about the conditions and what needs to be done. What we're looking for with the price challenge is to keep the standard that we already have, the standard of care. I mean, we can certainly inspect a storage tank and detect corrosion, but we're trying to be able to see if we can do that while the tank's still in service and get data for the inspector that he otherwise couldn't get while there's still fuel in the tank. And that's why we mentioned in the problem set number 1, we call this a transformational solution, because currently right now that's a very difficult thing to do. And so that's why we've put this together. We're looking for a system that is reliable, and I know that's kind of a big word. So reliability is a big thing. It's easy to talk about detection, but it's very difficult to demonstrate reliability. So we're looking for a reliable system that can deliver the data. It can get into the storage tank. It can navigate within the storage tank autonomously, and it can deliver the data to the inspector. And we understand those are very difficult things to achieve, but that is kind of what we're looking for here. That's kind of the overall approach that we're looking for. And we do appreciate everybody's participation. Over.
Okay, thank you, Jeremiah and Frank. My name is Marty Gaffey, and I'm the Water Tank Inspection Program Manager for the Navy. And I won't rehash all of what Jeremiah had said, but our two programs are very, very similar in the scope, CONUS and OCONUS. The only thing that differs really is it's a different liquid contained in the tank, and we do not do pipeline inspections. But we currently conduct inspections of the Navy's potable and non-potable water tanks per American Waterworks Association guidelines. So for instance, for AWWA D101 applies to steel tanks, AWWA D110 refers to concrete structures. So we use these documents to outline what the inspection criteria is for the inspections. Now, we generally perform two types of inspections, dry and wet. The dry inspectors require confined space protocols and fall protection for all the inspectors, so you have that safety aspect, whereas the wet inspections really do not require the confined space protocols, but generally do have the same fall protection requirements. So during a dry inspection, we can obtain the detailed inspection data of the steel and the coating thickness utilizing non-destructive techniques, ultrasonic devices. We can assess the general condition of the coating, presence of blisters, failures, and the general extent of the corrosion within the tank. So what we're really looking for is when a tank cannot be drained, we perform wet inspections, generally with an ROV, remotely operated vehicle. And for the most part, these are just visual inspections, and we really don't get any good hard data about the condition and the thickness of the steel and such. So we would like a solution where we perform a wet inspection and are able to ascertain coating failures, extent of corrosion, pit depth measurements, cracking in the steel, or deformation. So that's, in essence, that's what we're looking for. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, experts, for problem set 1. I hope that gave everybody a bit of an introduction to what they're looking for. So keep those in mind. We're going to go on to the problem 2 target. And then from there, we're going to open it up to a Q&A. So at this point, I'll turn it over to problem 2.
Good morning, I guess. This is Greg DeVogel. I'll just kick it off real quick. So we've, if you look at the United States Navy, there's about 90 or so large surface combatants, and there's 10 or 11 aircraft carriers, and so all of those have tanks in them. And if you run those numbers together, you get a very large number. I think at one spreadsheet I saw, almost 18,000 metal tanks that these are, if you look at all the surface ships in the Navy. So we are looking at trying to provide more quantitative or qualitative data on those inspections. Right now, a lot of the level 1 inspections are done just visually, looking for corrosion, and then a level 2 inspection could have some real thickness data, but for the most part is also another visual inspection by an expert. So anyhow, the tank we chose, or the tanks we chose, are on USS Midway. We're going to have a sort of an easy tank with no obstructions in it, or very few obstructions, I should say. And then you can see some pictures there. There's a few tanks that have pipes running through it, and then that'll be a more difficult tank to inspect. There is rust in those tanks, and we're also planning to bring some coupons, which will have additional rust at a known quantity of rust. So your inspection apparatus will hopefully detect the location and the quantity of rust in those tanks when it's completed. I guess that's a quick overview. There's a series of people who are more expert on this than I am, so I'll let them speak their part. Over.
I guess I can begin from the SME side of things. So my name is Patrick Nearing. I'm the lead naval architect for Southwest Regional Maintenance Center. I've been doing basically corrosion-related structural work for the Navy for about 14 years. Much of it involved in the tank and void programs, hull survey programs, both submarines and surface craft. So the main vehicle that the surface Navy is using for tracking tank corrosion is periodic assessments, which can be found in NSTM Chapter 100 and the Corrosion Control and Assessment Manual, G1N5 assessment. These periodic assessments are mostly visual. As was stated before, we have a level 1 assessor that comes through. They're trained through a corrosion program where they can assess the amount of corrosion in a tank and basically the status of the coating systems. So, an inspection instrument that can bring back that coating assessment is pretty valuable to us if we can do that while there's still fluid in a tank. Right now it's a massive expenditure to drain tanks, clean them, make them safe for entry. as far as autonomy, being able to insert an ROV or a robot into a tank and bring back 3D data is extremely valuable. The level 2 assessment was mentioned as well earlier. That's something that I'm, from the technical side, much more interested in because just knowing the state of the coding system is useful, but actually knowing what the remaining thickness of the steel is more useful, especially when we get into deferring repair and that kind of thing, when we have to go and evaluate. So actually getting real quantitative data is the main thing I'm personally looking for in this program. Thanks.
Okay, we give another moment. Do we have any more for problem 2? Otherwise, we could turn this over to the official Ask Me Anything portion of the Ask Me Anything session. We can open it up for Q&A. All right, so nothing heard for the rest of problem 2. So at this point, I'd like to open it up to industry members. If you got some questions you'd like to ask for a problem set or a particular SME, now is your opportunity. Kyle, go ahead.
Hi, thank you so much for holding this session. I just wanted to ask about the USS Midway. What will be the water level during the demonstration? I saw that it was like a 2 to 3 foot level, but are they going to be filled? Are they going to be filled or are they going to be dry?
Sure, thank you. So the tanks that you saw on the bottom left, they're about 30 inches to 36 inches of water. The intent, they're going to be putting you through the dry portions. That will be the baseline. Time permitting and SME interest permitting, we would like, and problem 2 experts, correct me if I'm wrong, but you would like to see if something is capable of being submerged, but the baseline is going to be a dry tank. Is that correct?
I mean, I would personally love to see a demonstration of something in a full tank, if that's possible.
Sure. So, and a good note here also, these tanks that we have access to, they're going to be in the condition that we have them in now. So we do have the partially submerged and dry, but this is a kind of a good point to note also that this is why we have a diverse set of experts on each problem set, because we can't hit every possible wicket on any particular target. So they're going to be looking for, like what Mr. Nearing is saying, he's going to be looking for technologies capable of kind of going that extra step into submerged tank. So we may not be able to test you in that, but that is going to be an interest for follow-on actions after the challenge for some groups.
Got it. Thank you.
Sure. Mario.
Yeah, thank you, Mario Pais from Serco. I just had a couple questions. For problem set 1, are we only looking to do a inside only inspection, or are you also interested in doing an outside inspection of the tank walls?
And we have a problem set 1 subject matter expert that would like to annotate what they're looking for.
Yes, sure. This is Marty Gaffey. Yes, Mario, we basically just like to focus on internal.
Okay, fair enough. And then did I hear correctly that that particular tank for problem set 1 is going to be filled with fuel or some other type of substance?
It will be filled with water.
Okay.
And it may be potable water only, also, so there might have to be some disinfection protocol if something is put inside of it.
Fair enough. And what was the material in that tank? Did you say it was concrete or this was steel?
That particular one is steel.
Got it. And along those lines, I noticed there was a couple of like an inlet pipe. Is it possible, are you wanting to get inspection inside those pipes as well? And if so, and you may not know now, but would the diameter of those pipes be provided later if you're wanting us to get inside those pipes?
So for my program, the water tank program, we generally do not inspect inside those pipes, but for the POL group, they do. So they might be interested in having that looked at, and we can provide you the size, the opening for that pipe.
Okay, great. Yeah, thank you so much. And lastly, this is just for the host. I would imagine the slideshow is going to be available on the NSIN's website.
Yes, this recording will be posted, and we can also send that link out to you directly.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Sure. Next, we have William.
Hey, I just have a couple questions. I guess first, this pertains to both problem sets, but I know the goal overall is to do things faster, cheaper, more data. Is there any of these focus areas that like precedents? Like, is there a focus in one problem set maybe on time where there might be data density on something else like the ballast tanks?
Are you asking for historical data on ballast tanks?
Sorry, maybe I didn't articulate that properly. Is there a, for each problem set, is there a more specific, I guess, benefit you're looking for? So obviously you want to do things cheaper, get better data and do them faster, but is there maybe an order of which to focus on?
As far as the better, cheaper, faster, or as far as like the
I mean, should we
tanks?
So I mean, would we want to prioritize a faster inspection over their data quality, or potentially like a lower cost solution over better data quality or faster inspection, or any of those variables?
So for me, for my interest in particular, for surface ship tanks, anything from carriers to destroyers, we're looking for anywhere we can pull data, without having to empty tanks and go through all the expense of cleaning tanks. So like right now, there are some camera systems that have been developed and used a little bit, but again, those are only gathering visual data, which we found it pretty difficult to make good long-term estimates on what the effect is going to be on ships. So we've had a lot of our combatants lately have been having issues with corrosion in fuel tanks, where maintenance has been put off because we thought we had good data from visual inspections, and it's proven to be less than satisfactory. So we've got cruisers getting pulled off carrier groups because they've got leaking fuel in engineering spaces. So that's the kind of thing that we're looking to kind of nip in the bud, is bring in that really quantitative data without the expense of putting a ship in a dry dock, or without draining and cleaning tanks. So we're trying to save money while gathering better quality data.
Got it.
Yeah, and so I can speak to that from the shore tanks. It's a really good question, and appreciate it. You asked whether speed and cost would be more significant to us than the data, and the answer is no. I mean, from a shore tank's fuel perspective, we're interested in the reliability of the data first. The speed is not a constraint of ours, so I would urge you to focus on the quality of the data and the reliability of the data from a shore tank's fuel standpoint. Thank you.
Understood. Thank you. And one question specific to the problem set number 2 for our ultrasonic payload, we use water as a couplant. Would it be possible to use water in the ballast tank? I guess if we're capable of getting it back out.
Yeah, I think we talked about that. The team is okay with that support. You'll need to clean it up afterwards. And if there's a other vendor here who has other requirements like that, let us know ahead of time on that. Over.
Great, thank you. And one more real quick, just for each one, how quick does this data need to be readily available for it to be effective for the inspector?
Well, I can speak from the POL, from the short tanks perspective, and that's a good question. It's not generally the inspectors do a tank inspection on a large storage tank. It takes a week or so, and out of service inspection. So for when you say how quickly they need it, I mean the sooner the better. But within a few days, I mean that would be the idea. It wouldn't be something they would need in real time. I don't think that would be useful to what the inspectors do. We're trying to get data that we ordinarily can't get. So it's understood that they wouldn't have it in real time. I don't think that would mean anything to us. So I would think within a few days to a week. Over.
Yeah, from the problem 2 side of things, very similar answer. Right now the Navy has periodicity programs in place where we've got manned assessments of tanks happening. Right, these things happen so many months out from major availabilities, right? So right now it's like it's a 1 year, trying to get all these assessments done at least 1 year before major CNO avails, so that they can plan that structural work into the availabilities. I think the intent of this program would be able to gather data outside of those periodicities so that we have more time to plan for the upcoming availability, ship availabilities. So there's not going to be a huge time crunch on, hey, the assessment's been done and now we need the data immediately. There'll be some time to process.
Great, thank you.
All right, great. Thank you, everybody. So we'll go to Matthew.
Yeah, can I, one more caveat on that popped into my head. Another thing that we're interested in on the Navy side is kind of the voyage repair, emergent repair scenario. I mentioned fuel tanks and smaller combatants earlier. That's a scenario where we would be wanting data as fast as possible. So if we've got a cracked fuel tank and we send an ROV or something in to go and inspect the damage from the interior of the tank while it's still filled with fuel, and we're trying to come up with an emergent repair plan, we would be hoping for pretty fast turnaround there, like within days.
Great, thank you, sir. We appreciate that extra information. William, if you're concluded, we'll move on to Matthew.
Thank you. I just have 2 real quick questions. For problem set number 1, I know the main focus is water, but is there a list of other products and specifics on those products that you guys are looking at that we should try to consider in our proposal?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Oh, go ahead.
From a fuel standpoint, it would be primarily what we're interested in from fuels, obviously other than water, would be jet fuel, JP5, JP8, and then of course diesel fuel. Those are the primary products that we store. Not limited to that, but I think that would be a pretty good target to look at those, the jet fuel and diesel fuel. Over.
Awesome, thank you. And then for both problem 1 and problem 2, when it comes down to the demo days, is there going to be available diagrams of the tanks provided ahead of time for the people who are invited to that demo day?
Yes, so we'll have more information for you before we actually get to demo day. All folks that are invited, we'll make sure that you have as much information as we can get to you. The USS Midway is a public venue. We can get you probably more information on that. The tank is the above ground tank for problem 1 is going to be on a naval facility. So depending on the exact tank, there may be some security concerns that will have to just get cleared regarding, photographs on a naval installation. But we will get you as much information as is releasable to you as soon as we can.
That's perfect. Yeah, because general information that is in one of those API 653 reports is the stuff that we tend to look for. Just as you mentioned, I think Patrick, you're the one who mentioned some obstructions that would come in. Just being able to see some of that ahead of time is helpful.
Sure.
I think the only other question is for, well, problem 1 and problem 2, more focused on problem 2, would be regarding manway openings and what is the size diameter that you guys are looking for. This is the size of the manways that you guys are currently dealing with.
Sure. So the problem set 1, Mr. Gaffey is going to be able to get a little bit more information on those openings. For problem 2 aboard the Midway, the diagram that's on there, and we'll also we can make that separately available if it's too small in the slides. Those are 21-inch openings. So both to get down from the staging room down the ladder and the access holes that are on the vertical walls between each of those cells is a 21-inch hole. You're welcome to try and go through the 12-inch hole if you like, but there is a 21-inch hole between each of those, which would be the main passageway for personnel or for equipment.
Perfect. Thank you.
No problem.
And
I know. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to add that on that water tank, it's more likely 24 inches to 36 inches square.
Perfect. I appreciate it.
All right, thank you. And just so you know, hopefully I'm not being rude. The raised hands don't really come in a particular order, so I'm trying to sort people out as I can. So we'll go with Mario.
Thank you. A couple more questions that our team thought of while we were sitting here. As far as power, is there going to be any power available for us to plug certain items in, or do we need to kind of bring our own with that?
The answer is to be as self-contained as possible, but if you need power, you got to let us know ahead of time. All right.
Got it.
Thank you.
And how about any kind of approvals that we'll need to get ahead of time to fly ROVs, in the tanks, drones in the air, or lithium-ion battery stuff, just kind of that general things, especially if we're going to be on a base somewhere. A lot of times those things come into play. Are you aware of any of that stuff that we're going to need to get ahead of time?
Yes, so you'll be reached out to most likely by myself for any of those approvals that are needed. We will make sure everyone gets walked through that process as simply as possible. Of course, problem 2 will be easier being on a public museum site. Problem set 1, there will be those base access, photo release, all those types of things. So I will be sending that information out and making sure everyone's squared away.
Hey, Mark, this is Jeremiah. For that matter, for the UAVs or UASs, whatever term that you want to use, I would suggest if anybody's interested in using those technologies, make that identified now and provide that to Mark. The Navy approval process for flight authorization is lengthy, so we want to get started on that quickly. And the cybersecurity requirements and security requirements for flying inside and outside of a facility are very stringent, so we should get on that quickly. Over.
Thank you, Jeremiah. And on that also, given the timelines, I would recommend, if that is what your solution is proposing, let me know now. Even if you don't make it to that phase, we'd be buying ourselves an extra couple weeks to get those permissions in order. So yes, just like Mr. Monson was saying, the sooner we know that, the better. Over.
Mark, did you want to put your email in the chat box, or how do you want them to give you that information?
Yeah, I will give my email. So something like this, as you know, kind of an admin measure that is unique to a particular company, I'm happy to send that out. Otherwise, we do have the link that was put into the chat for any generic questions that come up later, which would be things we'd publicly share. So I will put my email address in here now, and I'll be the point of contact for any of those authorizations that are needed.
And Mark, this is Allie. I just threw in the info@NSIN.mil for any other questions. We can get those to you as well that way.
Awesome, perfect. Okay, I believe Kyle was. You have another question? I think you're next.
Hi, yes, another question.
Sure.
So any kind of data that we extract from, let's say we're talking about problem 2, would we want that just returned as a raw format, or would we want to apply some kind of annotation that helps identify and segment the problem areas, any structural deformities or corrosive regions? Would we want to annotate that, or would we want to just return a complete picture of what the tanks look like? What is and also the second component to this is, would we want to pitch this as something that's a part of the routine maintenance, or something to respond to incidental problems like cracks that need to be fixed with a quick turnaround time or something like that? So like, you know, annotations versus raw, and then like incidental versus routine picture maintenance.
Sure, great question, Kyle. I'm going to send that to both the problem 1 and 2 experts to figure out what exactly they would like that data to look like, how it should be presented. So I'll turn that over to problem 1 first. Go ahead.
Sure. From a short tank perspective, we'd be looking for data that has been annotated. So we obviously need to know where the conditions or the quantity measurements where the thickness data where they're located. So that's kind of what's important. I think the emergent part of your question, I think, is more aimed at problem set 2. So from our perspective, we'd be looking for data that we can use at a later date to go find that particular indication, and then over to problem set 2.
I don't think we want to restrain how you want to present the data. So please present the data that you are ready to present. I think that's the right answer for that. Over.
Yeah, I can touch on that a little bit too. Yeah, you know, we work with non-destructive testing contractors quite a bit, and they have some set formats for returning data to us from their their NDT assessments. And the general format is going to basically have a map of where they did their assessment, and what was assessed, what the structures were, which Navy drawings they're associated with, remaining material thicknesses, design material thicknesses, and again, 3D locations of where the defects are located. So it's usually a tabular format that allows us to go to a Navy drawing and pinpoint, a 3-dimensional location, and then assess the structure. So yeah, there's some format to the presentation is recommended, so that we're going to be able to use it to locate the issues.
So then, just to follow up on that really quick, will there be like a ground truth in terms of, let's say, like a level 1 and level 2 inspection being done manually? Will that be a ground truth to be compared against any of the annotations that we come up with during our inspection?
Yeah, I would highly recommend taking a look at the G1N5 level 1 assessment form. It's an open document. You can grab it off of the NAVC website. So that's the kind of data we're looking for from the level 1 side. Level 2 is less formal. because a level 2 assessment is generally where you have a structural engineer actually assessing some corrosion or some defect, right? So there's a little more subjectivity to it, and then there's a lot of quantitative data gathering and then number crunching that goes into a level 2 report. We want the raw data from a level 1, if it has like structural thicknesses and 3D locations, the level 2 report is going to get built off of that. And calculations are going to get formed off of that data. So, but yeah, I would look at those forms as a good baseline for how you want to present what's being presented.
Got it. Thank you.
All right, thank you for that. Now we have Nick. Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, thanks. Just a quick question. Are you looking for fully commercial ready applications, or are you open to technologies that would facilitate, let's say, an ultimate goal of autonomous inspection in service, for example, that would allow you to sort of map a tank or a structure and then find the position on the tank and ultimately combine that with inspection devices, UT or whatever, but still needs development and can't be fully demonstrated, but can be demonstrated to the point where you can see what the capabilities are.
Sure. So I'll provide a comment as kind of the prize challenge as a whole perspective. So the intent of a prize challenge, ideally, yes, there's cash prizes for first and second place winners for each problem set. However, this is set up to meet the competitive requirements for another transaction authority, and can also lead to cooperative research and development agreements, which we can distribute more information on those also. So these can end in September. The relationship can end in September, or it could really begin in September. So if there are technologies that are, say, the mid or higher TRLs that are not 100% commercially ready and available, from the prize challenge administrative perspective, we are not limiting to that those high maturity solutions at all. We are welcome and inviting to lower TRLs. There's a lot of promise in the emerging technologies, so we want to see what those are. And if we like where it's going, we want to work with you to continue development. So non-obligatory to the subject matter experts for each problem set. However, if we do identify those technologies, we are set up to continue some collaboration in the future. So on that point, I'll turn it over to any comment from the problem sets.
From the problem 2 perspective, right now the Navy has a pretty defined system for evaluating tanks and what the go no go is for structures. So a system that can autonomously gather the data and fit it into those boxes so that engineering NAVC can make calls on which ships are ready to deploy and which ships need to be going into heavier availabilities is definitely useful. That would definitely be something we would be interested in.
Right. So if we can indicate kind of in the presentation what the TRL level is and possibly what kind of further development is necessary to get to some valuable final product, that's something you'd look at.
For sure.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, I wasn't sure, but there might have been one other person trying to speak up on that one. If so, go for it. Okay, nothing heard. Back to William.
I don't want to take up too much time. I do have a question pertaining to both problem sets. Is there any parameters around the minimum size of damage needed to be detected so obviously we're looking for like thinning or cracking or corrosion, but like, are you looking for the ability to detect like a millimeter by millimeter defect, or what? I guess what's kind of what would be an ideal outcome in regards to level of detection?
So for the problem 2, the Navy, like I said earlier, the Navy has pretty concretely defined what's okay and what is not. Most steel ships, 25% loss of cross section is sort of our go no go on a lot of structure. So you need to be able to measure pitting. That's as shallow as a 32nd of an inch, or as deep as the plate will go, and then be able to define how large it is. Could be 1 inch diameter pit. It could be 8 feet of general corrosion. And I would recommend reviewing some of the tech manuals, Navy standard tech manuals, Chapter 100 specifically, the CCAM corrosion control assessment manual, maintenance manual. A lot of the data we're looking for is going to be defined in those documents. So if your development kind of meets those requirements, I think you'll be doing all right.
Yeah, from a problem set 1 standpoint, it's pretty much the same. That's a good question about reliability. But what we're primarily interested in is reliably detecting down to the current levels of detection for most systems, and that's usually around the 20 to 25% is usually where that's usually where the technology lies today. So we're looking for reliability, and we're looking for data we can't otherwise get. So it's a good question, but I think right now the way the industry is, I think that's good enough for what we're looking for, as long as we can get the data while the tank's in service. Over.
Great, thank you. And one more question specific to problem set 1. So currently our robotic solutions are not submersible. However, we could assess the entire exterior of the tank as well as the piping. A, would that be of interest to you to participate in this competition? And B, if not, if we had a clear path to making it submersible, would that be more amenable?
Yeah, so the storage tanks, assessing the exterior, the shell of the storage tank is not particularly interesting to us. The bottom information is, and so that's when I say information we can't ordinarily get. So yeah, an exterior inspection of the surface is not, that's not something we can currently do that today with all the technology that's available. So that's not really an interest for this particular prize challenge. Or
all right, thank you for that. In the interest of everyone's time, we are at the pre-agreed limit here. So at this point, I'm going to invite any additional questions. I'm sure you'll have some more come up as you kind of go back into the drawing table and ponder a little bit. Feel free to send any and all questions to challenge@fathomworks.com. If you lose that, you can't find it, you'll have this chat available through the recording. My email is in there also, and I can direct you to the right spot. So I want to thank everybody for attending, especially since it wasn't required, and it's great to see the amount of interest between industry and the Navy willing to collaborate on this. So a thank you to NSIN and the admin team that's helped put this together, to all the industry participants, and to all of the Navy experts for joining in and expressing what your concerns are for naval tank inspections. So I want to thank you everybody for coming, unless there's any closing remarks from NSIN. Otherwise, that is it for us. Thank you.